Welcome back to another episode of Quick Picks with the Geek. I am your host, Bro Power the Geek. Alright, next up we got Cody, the renegade Gibson, versus Aoriqileng, the Mongolian murderer. And I gotta say, if your nickname literally means you kill people from Mongolia and you're fighting a guy called the Renegade, this sounds less like a UFC matchup and more like an unhinged Red Dead Redemption DLC. Anyway, let's dive in. Let's start with Cody, the Renegade Gibson, coming in as a slight minus 120 favorite with a record of 21-11. This man has been fighting professionally since the Bush administration, has seen more promotions than a TikTok influencer, and somehow keeps evolving. He's like the MMA version of that one substitute teacher who's actually seen war. Just grizzled, calm, and way too comfortable in chaos. Gibson brings that veteran poise. He's got crisp hands, real pop in that right cross, and a surprisingly mean jab for a guy who looks like he might own a surfboard shop. Add in his wrestling base and a brown belt in BJJ, and you've got someone who can compete anywhere the fight goes. His submission game has been shining lately. He choked out Brian Kelleher with an arm triangle and hit the same move in the Ultimate Fighter semi-finals, like a guy who found one cheat code and said, "Yeah, I'm keeping this." Durability? Off the charts. The man got rocked by Johnny Bedford years ago, then came back and folded him like a lawn chair. He's one of those fighters who can look like he's losing every exchange, until he lands one shot that suddenly evens the score. But Gibson's not without flaws. His takedown defense can crumble under persistent wrestlers. And he's been submitted 5 times, kind of like a black belt's worst recurring nightmare. Plus, his UFC record hasn't exactly been storybook material. When he faces the division's upper crust, he tends to fall short. And he hates calf kicks, like plans for them, worries about them, probably dreams about them chasing him through the streets. Now on the other side, Aoriqileng, the Mongolian murderer, coming in as a plus 100 underdog with a record of 25-12. First of all, incredible nickname. Sounds like a Bond villain who moonlights as a kickboxer, and honestly, that's kind of his energy. Chaotic, forward pressure, and violent intentions from the opening bell. Aoriqileng fights like he's allergic to the concept of defense. The man's output is wild. He throws 4.6 significant strikes per minute, and he lands nearly half of them. Problem is, he also eats over 5 per minute. Every Aori fight is basically a trust exercise with his chin. But credit where it's due, he's only been finished once by strikes, and he's got that unbreakable, I'll die swinging Mongolian spirit. He's also got legit wrestling in his back pocket, 46% takedown accuracy, and when he gets on top, he's heavy. The problem is, his submission defense has more holes than a fishnet. 3 submission losses, and he tends to leave his neck out like a Thanksgiving turkey. Add in some reckless fouls, eye pokes, groin shots, the full Mortal Kombat arsenal, and it's clear he's still trying to find control within the chaos. Now this fight's interesting because both of these dudes fight like veterans who've seen too much. Gibson's trying to prove he's still got enough in the tank for a run, and Ori's trying to show he's not just that guy who gets into brawls. So, who wins? If Gibson can stay composed, use his jab, and get Aoriqileng reacting instead of marching forward, he can absolutely take over. The grappling advantage leans his way too. If he can get Aori down, those long arms are going to be hunting for that arm triangle again. He just needs to avoid getting sucked into a slugfest because Aori will happily oblige him in one of those, and that's when things get dicey. On the flip side, Aoriqileng's path is pretty straightforward. He needs to turn this into chaos. Get inside, rip hooks, chop the legs, and make Gibson uncomfortable early. He can't let this turn into a methodical, tactical fight. If he can stuff a couple takedowns and make Cody question whether he wants to keep standing, Aori's pressure could snowball. But when I weigh experience, composure, and versatility, official pick, I'm going with Cody Gibson by decision, but with low confidence. Like, don't put your rent money on this, low. I think he mixes in the grappling, uses his jab, and wins a close one. But knowing Aoriqileng, there's a 50-50 chance this turns into a wild, bloody brawl, and the judges end up giving it to whoever's still standing. Either way, this one's gonna be violent, messy, and worth every second. If you enjoyed this, go ahead and smash that like button. If you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss a beat when the next video drops. And don't be shy. Leave a comment below and let me know who you got winning this fight. Let's see who really has the crystal ball around here. Until next time.